My name is Lauren Palm and I work with Surrogate Solutions. I have been with the company for 8 years now. My journey started when I actually was a surrogate. I had twins that are now 8 years old through the company Surrogate Solutions, and in an effort to continue to want to help others and become their guide through the process that I had just been through, I started the Florida division of Surrogate Solutions and have continued with the company for the last 8 years and watched it grow and change. How does one prepare for surrogacy? Surrogates can prepare for surrogacy first by understanding what it's going to entail, which is that it is going to be a commitment for a year or sometimes a year and a half, that there are delays, that everything doesn't always go perfectly the first time. We do a really good job of explaining to them what the process is going to entail, what it's going to be like. Once they're matched with a family, that's great. That's the fun part, that's the easy part, and then they're gonna have to go to a screening at the clinic and be prepared to do medications, and a lot of times that is shots, and they're on them for a couple of months, and that can take a toll on them, and so we wanna make sure they're prepared for that their family is supportive, and that they know that their family is complete. If something happened during this pregnancy, like a risk of any pregnancy, not just because it's a surrogacy, but every pregnancy has some risk. If they did lose their uterus, would they be okay with that? Nobody's okay with that, but are they willing to accept that risk, that they're not planning to have more children down the road? Are they prepared if it's twins? If one splits and now there are 2 embryos, or if the couple wants to implant 2, how do they feel about carrying twins? Termination issues. What if something's wrong with the baby and the couple wants to terminate the pregnancy and not continue it? Are they okay with that? I talk to all of my surrogates and intended parents about these things, and to me, it's whatever the answer is, the answer is. If you're not comfortable with termination for any reason, that's fine, but let's match you with somebody that feels exactly the same way so that we don't have any issues at all if worst case scenario comes to true. So many people that are in their 30s and have been working on their careers and maybe have a partner, maybe haven't ever thought about their fertility. They just are cruising along through life and working and thinking, I'll get to have kids later when I'm financially ready. And by the time you're in your mid-30s, if there's a problem, now you're racing against the clock to fix the problem because there are a limited supply of eggs. And if you wait too long, you're gonna run out. And if you wait too long to even discover that you had an issue that years ago it would have been different. So not necessarily that everyone should have their eggs evaluated early, but just to be aware of the clock and knowing that when you're 25, 1 in 250,000 of your eggs has a genetic defect. And by the time you're 35, it's 1 in 250. And at 40, it's 1 in 2. So just to be aware. My sister's, when she was 35 and waiting for the right person, I gave her the same advice, maybe consider freezing your eggs now so that when you meet the right person, they're already ready and you don't have to deal with this obstacle of what I see every day. When a surrogate and couple decide they're working together and she's gonna be their surrogate, the couple already has embryos. Before we even start, the couple has already made their embryos and they're ready to go. And so the surrogate starts a round of medications which prepare her lining to be able to accept the uterus as if she had been ovulating on her own, and so her body thinks that it's ready. So she will take estrogen and progesterone. Some clinics ask them to take Lupron, which suppresses their ovaries so they can't get involved, and some clinics aren't doing that anymore. So the medications that she will take can vary, but the goal of the medications is to prepare the lining of her uterus to be thick and sticky so that when they put the embryo in, it sticks. They kind of describe it as like putting a grain of sand in a jelly sandwich. The actual embryo transfer itself, after weeks of being on medications and going to all these appointments, and it's kind of anticlimactic because it's really just a small catheter and they shoot the embryos in from a test tube, kind of like a little water gun, and you just see 2 little dots go in, and it takes like 30 seconds, and then we wait to see if it worked. Once the surrogate, we wait, and then we have a blood test to see if they implanted and there's a positive HCG level, or beta as we call it, and then we schedule the ultrasound. So once a month after the transfer is when we'll get that ultrasound with the heartbeat at 6 weeks. And then it becomes like a normal pregnancy. The surrogate goes to her regular OB. Hopefully the intended parents attend appointments with her, at least the major ones, and are a part of the pregnancy. And then at delivery, they get their baby. There's a stigma surrounding surrogacy. People are ashamed to admit that they needed a surrogate in the same way they were ashamed to admit that they had fertility issues. And then some people I think that would make great surrogates are almost ashamed to do it because people may think like that they're hurting financially, that they needed to rent out their uterus, or that people are going to judge them for doing this, or that because people don't understand. And until we start talking about it, people don't know that the doctor put an embryo in you and that's how you got pregnant with someone else's baby, that you're doing this because they can't. Like, nobody judges you for giving blood when you're just finding a way to help people. So I would love it when we got to the point where there is no judgment on being a surrogate, where you're seeing it as someone with a loving heart that is giving their best to help someone else because they can. In the state of Florida, the legal requirements around surrogacy are actually outlined in the law, which is very favorable to Florida versus other states where there is no law on the books. Our law states that surrogates, that a married couple can use a gestational carrier in the event that they are medically unable to carry their own pregnancy. So it works great for same-sex couples now, since that's legal in Florida too, that they can use a surrogate, and when the birth certificate is amended at delivery, both of their names will be on the birth certificate rather than just the surrogate's. The surrogate's name won't be on it at all. It will say intended parent, or parent 1 and parent 2. Couples that are not married can actually still use a surrogate. They just enter a different contract, which is an open adoption agreement. So the person, the birth certificate will still get changed at the end, but it can be done. It's just not considered a surrogacy contract. Our surrogates should be between the ages of 21 and 45. So most of our surrogates fall in the middle of that range because they need to be done with their own family. So very few 21-year-olds have already completed their own family, unless they just happen to have one young pregnancy and only wanted the one child. Most of our surrogates tend to be in their late 20s, early 30s, and have already carried several successful pregnancies or raising their children. A lot of my surrogates are stay-at-home moms that, you know, just don't want any more kids but love staying at home with their kids and want to financially contribute to their family without having to go back to work and put their kids in daycare. And again, pregnancy was easy for them. They have the heart to help, so it's just a really natural fit. When someone decides to use our agency, they can expect us to always be available for them, to answer any questions that they have. I really consider my role as a surrogacy coordinator, and all of us do, as the guide, the person that is educating you about the whole process and holding your hand and walking you through every step of the way. And being there with you and letting you know, like, this is our next step and now we're gonna do this. And it's a very overwhelming process in the beginning, and it is my job to take that off of you, because it's hard enough going through the surrogacy and having someone else carry your baby, that to have someone else handle all of the coordination and the stress and the scheduling and the making sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed and everybody's following the timeline and hitting all the appointments that they're supposed to hit, and everybody knows where they're supposed to be at all times. That really is what we do. My personal advice to someone thinking about getting a surrogate or becoming a surrogate, or either one that are starting this journey, is to be patient, because we call it a journey for a reason. There are a lot of steps that have to happen in the process, and different things that can come up, and sometimes it feels like a lot of hurry up and let's get this done and this done and this done so that we can be ready, and then we wait. So it's hurry up, we gotta get the contract signed and everything done because we have to start medications by this date so that we can transfer on this date, and then once we do, we wait to be pregnant and then to find out did it work, and then we wait again the rest of the 9 months. Fun fact about myself. I started playing hockey at 39 years old because I have boys and that's what they love to do. And so it was a way for me to play with them and connect with them, and that's what moms do. And now I play on a 3-on-3 co-ed league because it is really fun. To get in touch with us, you can go onto our website at www.surrogatesolutions.net or www.eggdonorsolutions.com. We are Surrogate Solutions and Egg Donor Solutions on Facebook as well as Instagram.